Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about Connor, a 23-year-old who cracked the code to build apps that actually make money. Just to give you an idea, he created his latest app, which is now making $20,000 a month, in just 14 days using Vibe code. I know you might be thinking this sounds too good to be true, or that coding with AI doesn't work. But to prove this is real, he not only built this app, but also won the biggest hackathon, a development competition with over 55,000 participants. The vibe coding revolution, which I've already talked about here on the channel, is catching on. Artificial intelligence is transforming app development, including for those who have never coded before, like me, like you. In fact, this is the moment to get to know this new technology and, of course, to monetize, to make money using it in your business, right? I invited Connor to this channel so he could break down the plan, the full strategy he used. In this episode, we're going to dive into how he finds validated ideas, the exact step-by-step, how he uses this vibe code, how he develops these apps quickly, and his growth method to turn them into money-making machines. But before we start, leave a comment below. Have you ever missed out on an idea? Have you ever missed an opportunity? Was it because you even had a great idea that solved a problem, but you didn't know how to code and didn't have the money to hire a programmer? Comment below, I want to know. And remember, guys, besides leaving your comment now, hit the like button and hype it up because that really helps this project grow. And as this channel grows, I'll bring more videos for you. All right? That's it. Let's go straight to my computer screen. Remember, this is American content, and at the end of the video, I'll share the channel name with you. Subscribe, it's really worth it, okay? Shall we jump right in then? 3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome, Connor, to the channel. Tell me about yourself, what you've built, and what's your story. Hi, I'm Connor, and over the past few years, I've created a few mobile apps. These apps have generated over $1 million in revenue. I only started as an entrepreneur about 3 years ago, just by watching YouTube videos and staying optimistic about what I'm building. All right, Connor, that's amazing. Can you...
First point, you saw that he learned how to become an entrepreneur and started getting his ideas from YouTube. And the YouTube, a free tool, a young guy who's doing vibe encoding, which we'll explain in more detail soon. How exactly does that work? Just watching YouTube videos? Check it out. So your parents see you watching YouTube videos and say you're not doing anything? Well, if you're just watching shorts, then you're really not doing anything, right? But if you're watching videos like this, then you can say, Dad, I'm making money.
Can you tell me what kinds of apps you've created? I've created several different apps. I probably have about 6 apps now. My most recent app is called Payout, and it was launched recently at the beginning of August, and I scaled it up to a revenue of $20,000 per month. The downloads are over 12,300 new subscriptions. One cool thing is that this is part of a competition, Revenue Cat Chipiton. It's a hackathon where people can launch new apps on the App Store. This year there were over 55,000 entries and it won first place in the Build and Grow Award, which has a total prize of $65,000 for the app that achieves the most growth over a 2-month period. Before we talk,
look, his app, what's the revenue model? Subscription. My products, both courses and even service offerings like when we build websites or online stores are all subscriptions. And the tools I'm going to launch at the end of the year, there will be 3 tools. All 3 are subscriptions. So that's fantastic. Fantastic. Now, another thing is that besides launching more than one app, he also diversifies his sources of income. And ideally, they should be from different markets. So, for example, one of mine is for digital marketing, another is in the educational market, and another is in the freelance job market, and so on. So in other words, these are different markets that can generate different sources of income, but this way I diversify. Just like with investments, he's doing the same thing. And in addition to that, he's also competing in a competition where if he wins, he gets a cash prize. If he doesn't win, that's fine. He's developed the app and is earning money through subscriptions. Look how amazing, all these insights right at the beginning of the video. We're sharing all of this with you right now.
before we talk about the app and how you developed it, I need to understand a bit more about your journey. I know you're only 23 years old, and what you've accomplished is impressive. So, tell me, how did you get to the point where you started developing apps? Before I started developing apps, I was just a kid who played a lot of video games, stayed up late, and had no background in computer science. One night, in the middle of the night, I woke up with a random idea for an app and wrote everything down in my notes. I had never programmed anything before. The next morning, I woke up and started watching YouTube videos. I didn't have a MacBook at the time. I really wanted to make an iOS app. I didn't have any money, so I started doing random tasks, like selling random items, in my room. Period. I ended up buying an old MacBook. I started creating a social app called Hotspot Events. It took me 6 to 8 months to build that app, but it failed. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. After that first app, I quickly realized that social apps are very hard to scale. So I ended up moving to utilities and tools, which are much easier to scale on your own. That was about, look.
How interesting. So first he bought an old computer, basically started from scratch, and then he launched an app that didn't work out. So he didn't sit around crying like, oh no, it's a failure, it's the end of the world. He went ahead. There's a saying in entrepreneurship, fail fast. So you learn. You take action, then you go, you make mistakes, and then what do? You learn from new mistakes. You shouldn't keep making the same mistake over and over. You can make mistakes your whole life as long as they're different mistakes. And you'll succeed if you get it right more often than you get it wrong. Anyway, he failed fast, understood where he went wrong, and quickly developed another app. And I agree with him. Tools. They're much easier than social networks. So it's a tool that solves a problem. In the video from 2 weeks ago, I think it was a week ago, maybe 3 videos back, I brought in another person for another case, and he developed a wish list. Like, I want to travel to a certain place, or I want to buy a laptop, or I want to go on my honeymoon in a certain place, or I want to buy a car of a certain model. So it was a list app. And he made a lot of money. I don't even remember how much, but it was several $1,000s. So, I mean, it was a simple app that solved a simple problem, and then you scale it to a lot of people at a low price.
3 years ago, and since then, I've grown these apps to over $1 million in subscription revenue.
Right? That's amazing. I love that you did this without having all those crazy tools or anything like that. So my next question for you is, how do you create these apps? What's your playbook for building these apps? What do you think about creating an app from scratch?
Yeah, before I talk about how I do things today, I think it's important for people to know that you don't need all these fancy tools. I was watching YouTube videos and going on Stack Overflow, and my process today is pretty straightforward. I have a pretty specific set of steps that I follow to make sure the app I'm building is able to convert, generates a lot of sales, and also has good user retention. My first step is to download several apps, maybe 20 apps from the niche I'm diving into, as well as other apps that I think are beautiful and that I want to draw inspiration from for their design perspective. The next thing I do is take screenshots of every page of every onboarding flow. I take all those screenshots and lay them out in a big row in a Figma file so I can see all the onboarding flows, all the questions they ask, all the graphics they have. And I pick out all the ones I like, and I'll take some elements from one, some from another. And then I start from scratch.
Look at that. He actually does market research. First, he defines the niche he wants, right? I'm going to make a travel app, for example. He downloads about 20 travel apps. All right, so he's already going to test the market research. And at the same time, on the visual side, maybe even from the system itself, from the visual part of the customer experience, he puts the screenshot into a visual program and keeps looking at the button designs, the colors, how it works, the experience. So it's really interesting.
Designing them so that they all have my theme and the aesthetic I want for my app. I think it's very important to have comprehensive integration. Realistically, 90% of users will probably only ever see your integration if you have a paid access section in your app. So I think it's really important that you spend a lot of time on this, maybe even as much time as you spend designing the actual functionality of the app. When it comes to onboarding, these are the most important things you want to do to ensure your app converts successfully. The first is that you want to evoke emotion. You want to make sure that when the user is going through onboarding, they feel something strongly about it. Most purchases are made emotionally and not logically when it comes to consumers. You also want to make sure to showcase your app's strongest incentives, how it will improve your users' lives. You want to make sure they understand the benefits and that it's very simple for them to make that purchase. It's also
very important. You're not selling benefits. You are not just selling features. You are not simply selling your app. What you are truly offering is the transformation that your app will bring to their life. What will it make easier? Will it help them make money? Will it help the person have more time with their family? So you're selling the transformation, not just the feature and so on. Got it? That's what you need to understand. It's
important to make sure your app feels personalized these days, since there's so much competition. People want to be sure that what they're buying feels like it was made specifically for them, instead of just being a generic app. Finally, you want to make sure you have some kind of tables, charts, something to make the app look more scientific. People like to know that something they're using has proven effectiveness, that others have used it successfully. And by adding these tables and charts, your app will look much more legitimate. The next step is to design your data structures. This is very important, especially for coding vibe. It's important to know what your data will look like, how it will be shaped. Because when you feed the AI, like Cursor or Gara, it becomes much easier for the AI to know exactly what you're trying to create, without having to make assumptions about what you're trying to do. I recommend creating a text document with an explanation, as well as some JSON data that shows what your data actually looks like, and some information about each of the attributes you will have for your data. By providing this text document in advance, it allows me to code everything much more quickly.
So let's go, just so we don't get lost. For those who aren't programmers like I'm not, so vibe code is basically the following. It's about taking an artificial intelligence, for example, a Lovable, a Cursor, Google itself already has one, Codex, which I brought up in last week's video as well. I think in the previous video I talked about OpenAI's Codex, which is the creator of ChatGPT. So basically, I always make this comparison. It's like having an intern. You're sitting in front of them, they're right here in front of you now, and you say, look, I want an app that works like this with a button of this color, so that when someone clicks it, a certain window opens. Your intern is the programmer. You see? That's basically it. So the AI is your intern. And how do you communicate with your intern? By talking. So with AI, you'll either speak or write by text, but in a conversational way, not in code. What's the difference? The programmer communicates with code. That's their language. With these new ones like Vibe Code, with these new AIs, you communicate by talking, right? With text or with voice. It's all about context. And then the tip Connor just gave here, you can create some text documents with explanations of what you're looking for, and then you take those explanations and give them to the AI so it can generate the code. This is called Vibe and Code.
Preparation done. You can really start creating the app. Normally, I would start by creating the main functionality of the app, skipping the integration and going straight to the core features of the app. You can simply drop the screenshots into Cloud or Cursor, whichever AI you're using. And since it can now read images and understand what it's seeing, it will be able to write the code for the entire screen for you. When working with AI, things don't always go right the first time. So sometimes you need to keep working with it, and eventually it will get the details right. I don't recommend being too picky because it's important to launch a version quickly rather than releasing a perfect app.
The benefit and the problem. The benefit is what he mentioned. You can test an idea very quickly. Because what used to happen before? It used to take you 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, working with the developer, spending money on an idea you don't even know will work. Now, in just a few days, maybe even the same day, but let's say over the weekend, you put together the first version of the app. You might call it alpha, you might call it beta, whatever, and then you put it in the hands of a few people. And these people are going to test it. And they'll say, wow, what a wonderful idea. So what happens next? You go and develop a more optimized version, a better version. So the benefit is that you can test quickly. But what's the challenge? It's that AI these days is getting better and better, but it still makes mistakes. And when it makes mistakes, often the version is good. It has 3 features, but there's one that's not working. You tell it to fix the one that's not working, and it ends up breaking. It ends up causing problems with the other 2 that weren't having any issues. So what do you have to do? Always save the previous version. Then you keep testing until things get good, always making backups. Anyway,
The tools I use now, honestly, I only use Cloud. It's the only thing I use for AI coding, and it does everything for me. It's absolutely insane that Connor managed to create and launch this app in just a few weeks. I hope his story inspires many people watching to start and build cool things too. However, I need you to be careful. I see a lot of people getting into building cool stuff, trying to make something quickly all at once, getting lost, not being able to implement it, and giving up. Because here's the truth about creating with AI. You need to know how to use these AI tools effectively, what to build, how to deliver quickly, and how to create something that actually works. Let's get back to the video. The next question I have for you is about validation. You've created several apps that are really successful, and I know you've also built some things that weren't as successful. Looking back, how do you know if your app idea has been validated and if it's worth moving forward with it? So, the way I see it, there are 2 different types of apps. There are innovative ideas and modified versions of existing ideas. If you're creating a modified version of an existing app, congratulations, your app has already been validated by others. Now, all you need to do is make some modifications and make the app feel like your own. The other option is when you're creating something completely new. What I usually do when I'm creating something totally new is take a look at TikTok or Instagram and see if anyone is talking about the problem you're trying to solve. You want to make sure there's an easy path for you to market this app by looking at the comments and seeing if people are asking questions like, how do I solve this problem? So, now, with the current speed of app creation, I'm going to skip the simple steps and go ahead and build the app.
innovation is very difficult, and you're always left with doubts. I had an innovative idea and no one else is doing it. But is it because it's innovative? Or is no one doing it because they've already done the research and basically it's just not worth it? It's complicated. I believe it has to be something that you're going to modify, but it should be something that, let's suppose, is very difficult to implement, for example. There are people who have tried and succeeded. The apps aren't perfect, but if you can make a type of app that already exists, there are only a few, but if you can improve it, it's still not that easy to break in. That's what I mean. Why? Because it's a lot of work. In other words, there's a barrier to entry. It's not that easy to get in, but once you do and you dedicate yourself, there are few competitors. It's different from launching something that's very easy to copy. So anyone can get in. And then what happens? There will be a lot of competition and not much value. Your app will become a commodity, you know? So you have to take that into consideration.
We believe that any app can make thousands of dollars these days. Your idea doesn't have to be some crazy app that changes society to make a few $1,000s. Just on Zua, there are hundreds of millions of people. And if you can capture even a tiny grain of that, then you can earn more than enough to support yourself. I agree with that. There are also so many apps out there that are crushing it, and we don't even know they exist. It's crazy what's possible today, but as we know, just building isn't enough. We have to focus on something very important, which is distribution. My next question for you is about marketing. What was your playbook for making this app? Growing from $0 to $20,000 a month in 50 days? And what is your general playbook for marketing apps? For this app, there were a few different tactics I used to get it off the ground. The first was influencer campaigns. That's when you work with an influencer and have them promote the app to their existing audience. If you can work with an influencer and get them to promote your product, people already have some degree of trust in them. So people are more likely to listen to their recommendation. For this app,
the only issue, the problem with influencers is this. First, they have to be a user of your tool, right? So they can understand it. Then they have to be part of the target audience. For example, one of the apps we're going to launch is in the educational market, and the person necessarily needs to have a child. So if I pick an influencer who doesn't have a child, it doesn't make any sense at all, you know? Then you have another app, which is for people. Let's take that classic case of someone who doesn't eat meat, they're vegetarian, and they do a commercial for meat, for example. So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't come across as genuine. So when you choose an influencer, they need to be from that market. They need to be a user. It needs to make sense for them.
I partnered with a content creator who was already in the niche of the app I was developing, and
in the niche of the app I was developing, exactly that.
The videos managed to drive a lot of traffic to the app, resulting in thousands of downloads. The goal is to create viral and relatable content about your app that feels natural and unpolished. When one of these videos starts performing well, you can have more videos like it made by other creators, so that people can repeat the formats that are working for you. One of the main benefits of running these UGC campaigns is that as these creators produce content, you are building a library of ads that you can run in the future, and you already have a good idea of how well the ads will perform based on their organic performance. And my goal is always to get my app to the point where I can run paid ads. It's the most consistent way to generate revenue growth for your app. Recently, the paid ads algorithm has changed. Facebook is trying to balance two things. They want to make sure advertisers are happy with their results while also keeping people on the platform by ensuring the videos are entertaining. The more entertaining your video is, the cheaper it will be to put it in front of people. But you also want to make sure you're generating conversions. Therefore, your ad also needs to make sure it promotes your product. So
how does he make the sale? First source, influencers. Second source, online ads. Through there, in this case, he gave the example of Facebook, but it could be Instagram, WhatsApp, Google, YouTube, TikTok. So there are several possibilities. I also use all these sources. I have YouTube channels. I have 10 channels, 8 monetized, and I'm about to monetize the 9th. Besides that, I also have my mentorship program. I have my course. I offer my services. And now I'm about to launch 3 apps in different markets. If you want to understand how to use artificial intelligence to monetize, to create sources of income, whether it's extra income or a more structured business, my mentorship program will be linked below. It's called Mentoria Monetização Mestre da IA. It's not a course, okay? I will personally assist you. I'll create a plan for you, and I'll help and advise you throughout the execution. It's something extremely personalized, all right? I'll leave the link in the description. If you want, it helps me out, all right? It's been over 20 years of entrepreneurship and 10 years since I started on the internet. I'm old, but I'm still young. That's it, okay? Let's keep going here.
It's important to find a balance between making a video that's really entertaining and also has the potential to convert. Thank you for sharing all these growth tactics. I think this might be the most important part. We still haven't talked much about what your app actually does. Could you show us a quick demo of your integration and how your app works? My app is called Payout. It's a class action discovery app that allows people to find class actions they're already eligible for. And basically, it's a way for people to get some money from companies that did something wrong. So, for the integration, I'll quickly summarize it here. Requesting activity notifications. You can see this. Social proof. Here is the paywall. This paywall has been converting really well. You can see there's a weekly and an annual option here. And the goal is to prioritize users to get the annual option since it has the highest lifetime value per customer. This is the main feature of the app. It's a list of class actions that you can check and see if you're eligible for. For example, this is the NBA Top Shot app. They had a privacy settlement regarding the metapixel on their website. You can see the description requirements for who is eligible for this lawsuit. You can click the start button and fill out the form. This will take you to a form that you can fill out. Enter all your information and have everything ready to mail in and claim your class action settlement. And you can...
Wow, that's brilliant. Well, I practiced law for 11 years, right? Basically, here's the thing. Let's go. My area was labor and real estate law. So, for example, there was a time when we took on several construction companies, Cirella, Brookfield, Kairos, Galvo, and so on. And what happens? There's a building there, or a condominium of buildings. Let's suppose there are 300 apartments there. What happens? Sometimes we can't get in touch with everyone. Let's say we file a lawsuit against Cirella, and it's a class action, where we're going to present the issue of the condominium's delay. So, do you agree with me that if there are 300 apartments, let's say all 300 were sold, then everyone who bought there has the same right? But we only found 80 people. Let's go for 100 people. So, I mean, we're missing 200 people. So when you install this app, what happens? He actually finds out that he filed a lawsuit against Cirella in the same condominium where he owns an apartment. So the app is for that purpose, to let him know about this collective action. What an idea. Brilliant.
See, the app will prepare a ready-to-send PDF for you to mail. There's also the Wallet tab where you can keep track of all the class actions you're applying for, and the Forms tab where you can see all the forms you've already filled out. Okay. I mean, this is a really cool idea for an app. I think anyone watching this right now will probably want to go check if they have any money to claim from these class actions. What is it about this app that really makes it work? Why do you think it went from 0 to 20,000 a month so quickly? I think the value proposition of this app is very obvious. There are a few essential things that everyone wants. They want to be healthier. They want to make more money. They want to look attractive. All kinds of things like that. I like to create apps that meet these essential human desires, and I think anyone who wants to create apps should do the same. And this taps into people's desire to make more money. So it's very easy for people to invest money in an app that they know will bring them more returns. Okay.
For example, let me give you an idea here. There are many people, I believe most people, who like to get free stuff, right? So let's suppose a Boticario store. A lot of people don't know that if you register at the store, you can get a free gift every month. For free, you don't have to do anything, but you don't know about this information. And there are a lot of stores where you can get free stuff, but you just don't know about it, right? So imagine an app where you charge a low subscription fee, okay? Where maybe with just 1 or 2 brands, you already get something for free, and that already pays for the app. You get it? So let's say there's a perfume and there's a collagen, just as an example. If you take the subscription price and the price you would more or less pay for that freebie, then by getting 2 freebies, you've already covered the subscription. The third one is already profit. So I'm sure a lot of people would pay for it. Maybe you get something at the supermarket, maybe something at a salon, maybe a perfume, maybe a collagen, maybe a serum, and so on, you know. So it's an app that people would pay for. A small subscription, several small subscriptions, money in my pocket, and then I go and do Kwayaya on a weekend. Look how amazing that is. But guys, I want to hear from you. First, have you ever had an idea and couldn't implement it because you didn't know how to code? Now, there's no excuse. Number 2, do you like this kind of video about bringing in people, real cases, real stories, and analyzing them? Do you like this kind of video? Because if you do, let me know in the comments and I'll bring more videos like this. And guys, besides commenting, leave a like and hype it up. That helps this channel grow even more. I stop everything here to bring you this video, so I need some feedback. And the feedback is with likes and hype, okay? That's it. I'll leave some videos up here on the top right where you can find more videos about monetization and making money online, okay? See you in the next video. See you soon.